Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Thank you for joining me in this live section. Guys, I have a lot to, expose. I have a lot to say in this live section. So stay with me. If you're new to this channel, hit that subscribe button so that you will not miss out on any breaking news. And also like and share this video. Share this video to your friends to join in because I have a lot, guys. I have a lot to tell you guys. I have a lot to expose. So many people, in Nigeria, even outside Nigeria, are asking why Nnamdi Kanu is still in detention, and they are asking who is really to blame. Who are we to blame for Kanu's endless detention? They are asking this viral question, guys. Like I said in this video, I'm going to be exposing a lot that you don't know. Now, this is the truth they are hiding about Nnamdi Kanu's case. Like in this live section, I'm going to expose a lot. I'm going to be exposing 4 things in this live session. So stay with me to get the full gist. So now, why Nnamdi Kanu is still in detention nearly 2 years. Welcome back to my channel, guys. I have a lot to expose in this live section. Stay with me so that you get the full gist. So now, many have asked why Nnamdi Kanu is still in detention. Yes, for nearly 2 years after being discharged by the Court of Appeal. Yeah, who they're asking who is truly who truly sabotaged the case, and why did the Supreme Court even hear an appeal on a matter already dead in law. Now, in this video, in this live section, I'm going to break down all these for you guys to understand. I'm going to break down the legal manipulation, internal misstep, and then the government violations that continues to keep the IPOB leader behind the bars. Guys, stay with me. So in this expose, we are going to unpack 4 major things, guys. I'm going to expose 4 things that you need to know. See, if you know you love Biafra, you love Nnamdi Kanu, stay with me in this live session. I have a lot to tell you guys. So now we're going to expose how former leader lawyer Mike, you guys know him, helped revive a legally dead case. I'm going to expose that in this live section. And then secondly, I'm going to expose the truth behind Malami's misleading discharge is not acquittal. The truth behind Malami's misleading discharge is not acquittal doctrine. I'm going to expose it in this live section. And then, thirdly, I'm going to expose why the terrorism charges against Kanu are legally obsolete. I'm going to expose obsolete. I'm going to expose that also. And then how international law was trampled in his illegal redemption from Kenya. Guys, this is a must watch for every concerned Nigerian and Biafra. This is a must watch. Guys, stay with me. I have a lot to unpack. So now let's start with the fact, why is Nnamdi Kanu still in detention? Guys, I also have a video to show you guys. I am fully prepared for this, guys. Just stay with me to get the full gist. So now, why is Nnamdi Kanu still in detention almost 2 years after being discharged by a competent Nigerian court? Why are courtrooms still dragging his case like a political, circus act? Why are they dragging his case? And most importantly, who is truly responsible for this endless detention and endless trial, even when he has been acquitted? Now, on October 13th, 2022, the Nigerian Court of Appeal made a landmark ruling. Nnamdi Kanu was discharged. The court concluded that his adoption from Kenya violated international law and domestic law, and therefore Nigeria had no legal rights to try him. Kanu even say it in some of his court sections. He said no court in Nigeria had the jurisdiction to try him. No court at all. So it's actually appalling that after all these courts, after they finished discharging, after they discharged him, and they also declared that his adoption from Kenya was illegal, it violated international and domestic law, and therefore Nigeria had no legal right to try him. But it's actually appalling that till now Kanu is still in detention. And it was a moment of victory, but it didn't last. When they said that it was a moment of victory, everybody was happy, but it didn't last. In a baffling twist, the Supreme Court, now I'm going to expose things going in the Supreme Court. Imagine the Supreme Court that is our last hope, like the final court when it comes to decision making. Even if the appeal court didn't give you what you want, the Supreme Court is going to conclude everything. It's appalling that even the Supreme Court betrayed Kanu. Now, in a baffling twist, the Supreme Court later reopened the case. Everybody was shocked to hear that the Supreme Court, the most, the highest court in Nigeria reopened a case that is already dead, despite the constitutional impossibility of appealing a jurisdictional discharge. I repeat myself, the Supreme Court reopened the case despite the constitutional impossibility of appealing a jurisdictional discharge. Guys, now when a court says it lacks jurisdiction, the case is dead. You can't appeal a corpse. I don't know if you understand. So, the appeal court, like I said, in October 13th, 2022, the Nigerian Court of Appeal made a landmark ruling that Nnamdi Kanu was discharged, and the court concluded that the adoption from Kenya violated international law and domestic law, and therefore Nigeria had no legal right to try him. Now, when the court says that it lacks jurisdiction, like appeal court said that they lack the jurisdiction to try Kanu, when the court says that it lacks jurisdiction, the case is dead. You can't appeal a corpse. You cannot appeal a corpse. You can't. So how did this case come back to life? How did the case come back to life? We need to be, holding the Supreme Court accountable for this, because they are the ones that reopened the appeal again. The person who should have shut the door permanently opened it instead. Imagine the Supreme Court, the lawyer. Now, this happened under what was his name? Mike. The lawyer who opened the door was Mike. A person who should have shut the door permanently opened it instead. Mike, a son, then he was Kanu's lead lawyer. You see how he betrayed Kanu, allowed the federal government to appeal using under 6 rule 1 of the Court of Appeal rules. But here is the kicker, guys. The rule is designed for civil appeals, not criminal matters. It was a massive error. Did he allow the federal government to appeal using order 6 rule of the Court of Appeal rules? That rule alone is designed for civil appeals, not a criminal matter. Guys, you can see the massive error. Now, by accepting this process, Mike gave oxygen to a case that was legally dead. The Nigerian government seized that opportunity and ran with it. That was just what happened. You can see the things, the controversies surrounding Kanu's case, how they made error when the Supreme Court, when Mike actually, gave this case an oxygen gave a dead case an oxygen. The Nigerian government now seized the opportunity and ran with it. Guys, imagine that a Supreme Court actually opened a case that is already dead. The Supreme Court under Mike, a son, then he was Kanu's legal lawyer. You can see the way he betrayed him. Allowed the federal government to appeal using order 6 rule 1 of the Court of Appeal rules. Guys, that rule was designed for civil appeals, not for criminal matters like terrorism. It was really a massive error. They made mistake. This is what Nigerian government are overlooking. This is what Justice James Omotosho is overlooking today. That order 6 rule 1 was a civil procedure, but Kanu's case is a criminal case. Why are they using a civil procedure for it? You can see by accepting this process, Mike gave oxygen to a case that was legally dead. The Nigerian government seized the opportunity and ran with it. So the former Attorney General. Now let's talk about Malami's legal ties. Like I said, in this live section, I'm going to be exposing 4 good things, guys. See, this video is a must watch. Guys, stay with me. I have a lot to unpack. I have a lot to unravel, guys. I'm going to be exposing 4 things. How former lead lawyer Mike San helped revive a legally dead case, which I've already talked about, and also the truth behind Malami's misleading discharge is not acquittal doctrine. The truth behind it, I'm going to expose it in this live section. And then why the terrorism charges against Kanu is legally obsolete, I'm going to expose that too. And fourthly, how international law was trampled in his illegal redemption from Kenya. Stay with me. I have a lot to show you guys and to also expose. So now, like I said, let's talk about Malami's legal lies. The discharge is not acquittal. Malami always says the lie and say discharge is not acquittal. Now, former Attorney General Abubakar Malami added more confusion to Kanu's case. Yes, he insisted that a discharge is not an acquittal. A misleading and dangerously false interpretation of the law. See, these people don't know the law at all. It is clear that these people, they don't know, their ignorance of the law. They don't know the law. He insisted that a discharge is not an acquittal, a misleading and dangerously false interpretation of the law. He quoted section 396, chapter 7 of the ACJA. But that section only talks about judges who are promoted while handling ongoing cases. It says nothing about discharge or acquittal. You can see it. You can see that he's lying. How can Malami come out and say, the former Attorney General, that's Abubakar Malami, come out and say that discharge is not acquittal? And then he quoted section 396, chapter 7 of the ACJA, something that is saying differently. It's not even, it has no meaning to what he's saying. In section 396, in chapter 7 of the ACJA, it's talking about how, judges, how it's talking about, it only talks about judges who are promoted while handling ongoing cases. It says nothing about discharge or acquittal. Malami's strategy was simple: manipulate public perception and keep Kanu in detention under a false legal premises. Guys, can you imagine? You quoted something to talk about something. The thing you quoted is not, it has no relation with what you're talking about. You can see the manipulation there. But the law is clear. The law is clear for everyone to understand. Where a court lacks jurisdiction, the proceedings are nullity. They are null and void. I don't know why it is hard for Nigerian government to just look at their constitution and understand it and know what it is. Even the lawyers and judges, they don't even know and understand what the constitution is saying. The law is clear for everyone to understand that where a court lacks jurisdiction, appeal court said they lack jurisdiction to try Kanu. Appeal court said it in October, and then they discharged him, closed the case. This man, Mike, a son, a lead lawyer then of Nnamdi Kanu, betrayed him and then opened the case again, gave the case gave a dead case an oxygen, which Nigerian government used the opportunity and seized the opportunity and then ran into it. The law is clear. Where a court lacks jurisdiction, the proceedings are nullity. It is null and void. That's what it says. The charges, they used to try Kanu, they are dead. Now let's go deeper into this. Guys, stay with me. I have a lot to unpack. This is a must-watch video. Stay with me in this live session. So the charges being used against Kanu are dead under Terrorism Prevention Act of 2013. The charges being used against Kanu, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu Oyendu, are based on they are dead, based on the Terrorism Prevention Act of 2013. But the law was repealed in May 2022 and replaced by the Terrorism Prevention and Prohibition Act of 2022. So how is Kanu being tried under a law that no longer exists? I want to understand. How is Kanu, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu Oyendu, tried under a law that does not exist? The government claims section 108, chapter 4 of a new law allows old cases to continue. But here's the problem. Kanu's case was already terminated by the Court of Appeal before the new law came into force. Kanu's case was already terminated before Kanu's case was already terminated by the Court of Appeal before the new law came into force. Now let me break everything for you guys to understand. Now, number one is the charge being used against Kanu today is already dead. He's being tried under dead law. But Nigerian government doesn't want to admit that. The charges being used against Kanu are based on the Terrorism Prevention Act of 2013. But that law was repealed in May 2013. But the law was repealed in May 2022. I mean to say. So now, and it was replaced by the Terrorism Prevention Act of 2022. So now ask me, this is the question we are now asking. Why is Kanu being tried under a dead law, a law that doesn't exist again? Now in section 108, chapter 2, of the new law, it says that it allows new law or it allows sorry, it says that new law allows old cases to continue. But here is the problem now. Kanu's case was already terminated before court of appeal, before by the court of appeal, before the new law came into existence. And according to section 6, chapter 1C of the Interpretation Act of 1964, repeal does not revive a proceeding that was already terminated. This is one thing we should know. See, it's faith, I've come into conclusion that you see these judges in Nigeria, they know the law, but they have just turned blind. You know, they have just turned blind just to keep Kano in detention. How can all these things be written clearly in the constitution, and then they are doing otherwise? They're not doing what it says. Why are they making the constitution look like mere paper? Why are they making constitution look like mere paper? You know, this country doesn't obey rule of law. They don't even obey their own constitution. They violate the people that make this law. They're the same people that violate it. So how do they expect Nigerian citizens to obey the law? How do they expect? See, they will obey this same law to jail someone and put someone in prison for so many years, or even sentence one to life imprisonment, but they will not obey this law to release an innocent person. The government claims section 108, just like I said, it says that it says the new law allows old cases to continue. But here's the problem. Kanu's case was already terminated by the Court of Appeal before the new law came into existence. So Kanu is supposed to be released. And according to section 6, chapter 1C of the Interpretation Act of 1964, repeal does not revive a proceeding that was already terminated. This is yet another attempt to keep him trapped in legal black holes, guys. You can see the manipulation, and you can see the political games, even when it's clearly written in the constitution. Now, perhaps the most disturbing part of this saga is being quietly ignored. That's the most disturbing, part of this Kanu's case, is being ignored. Mazi Kanu was kidnapped. That's what we need to know. Not extradited. He was kidnapped from Kenya in June 2021. This act alone violates Kenya law, violates Nigerian law, violates the African chapter of human and people's rights, also the UN Convention Against Torture, and also and basic principles of international extradition treaties. Guys, how many things now did it violate? It violated number one. It violated 5 things I just mentioned. Number one, I mentioned Kenya law. You see, that's the most disturbing part of this Kanu's case. He's been ignored. Despite what they did, violated 5 things. 1 is Kenya law, 2 is Nigerian law, 3 is the African chapter of human and people's rights, 4 is the UN Convention Against Torture, 5 is the basic principles of international extradition treaties. All, Nigerian government violated all these things. But yet, this issue was first raised not by Mike, but Barrister Loy Ejimako, Kanu's special counsel. It was raised. It remains the foundation of the Court of Appeal's discharge, and it is a wound the government has tried to cover with layers of lies and legal tricks. The fact that Kanu was kidnapped, Nigerian government wants to cover it with lies, manipulation. Even when it was raised, this issue was raised. It was raised by Barrister Loy Ejimako, but they keep ignoring this case. Some have turned their frustration towards Kanu's current legal team. But let's be clear, the damage was already done by the time they arrived. They inherited a case resurrected by error, manipulated by politics, and born by law that no longer appeal. Now, this man called Mike, he's a son. He was the lead lawyer of Kanu. He made an error, which they are overlooking, which Justice James Omotosho is overlooking. I will tell you the error that he made. Now, he was the one He was the person. Now, let me now break this thing very well so that you can understand. Stay with me. I have a lot to unpack. I have a lot to expose in this live section. Now, on October 13, you guys already know in 2022, the Nigerian Court of Appeal made a landmark ruling. Nnamdi Kanu was discharged. The court concluded that his adoption from Kenya violated international and domestic law, and therefore Nigeria had no legal rights to try him. Now, I'm trying to tell you how this man made a mistake. How the fact I'm trying to tell you the error that they made that is still keeping Kanu in detention till now. Now, like I said, in October 13th, 2022, Nigerian Court of Appeal made a landmark ruling. Nnamdi Kanu was discharged. The court concluded that his adoption from Kenya violated international and domestic law, and therefore Nigeria had no legal right to try him. Now, it was a moment of victory, but it did not last at all. In a baffling twist, the Supreme Court later reopened the case, despite the constitutional impossibility of appealing a jurisdictional discharge. Now, when a court says it lacks jurisdiction, the case is dead. You can't appeal a corpse. You can never appeal a corpse. So how did this case come back to life? Now, here is how it came back to life. This was a lawyer, in fact, the then leading lawyer of Nnamdi Kanu. This was how he betrayed him, in the person of Mike, a son. The lawyer who opened the door was Mike. And he made an error. That's the mind-blowing thing. He made an error. The person who should have shut the door permanently opened it instead. Mike, a son, the then Kanu's lawyer, a lead lawyer, allowed the federal government to appeal using Order 6, Rule 1 of the Court of Appeal rules. Now, here's the error. The rule he used to open this case was designed for civil appeals, not criminal matter. You guys know the charges of Nnamdi Kanu was terrorism and treason. Now, the rule he used, he allowed the federal government to appeal using Order 6, Rule 1 of the Court of Appeal rules. Guys, that rule he used was designed for civil appeals, not criminal matter. It was a massive error. You can see the error that this lawyer made. But the question is, why is Justice James Omotosha overlooking this thing? I thought these people know the law. How can a son, he claimed that he's a son, is a lawyer, make such an error? Is it that they don't know the law or what? Or is it that they are ignorant of the law? See, me, I believe these people know all these things, but they are purposely doing this thing to keep Kanu in detention. Guys, you can see the error that this man made, which till today, they are overlooking it. You can see the error. Now, who are we to blame? I think we have to blame the Supreme Court and this man, because it was them that reopened this case, gave oxygen to a dead case. This the then leading lawyer of Kanu, and then the Supreme Court, the highest court. Look how they, a court that was supposed to close this case permanently, and then a man, Mike, the then leading lawyer of Kanu, that was supposed to close this case entirely, reopened the case. Now, some have turned their frustrations towards Kanu's current legal team, but let's be clear that the damage was already done by the time they arrived. By the time they arrived, the current legal team of Nnamdi Kanu, by the time they arrived, the damages have already been done. The error have already been done by the leading lawyer of Kanu, Mike, a son. He has already done the error before this new legal team of Kanu arrived. So stop blaming the current legal team at all. They inherited this current Kanu's legal team inherited a case resurrected by error, manipulated by politics, and bound by law that no longer apply. So who is to blame for Nnamdi Kanu's continued detention now? The Nigerian government? Absolutely, we have to blame them. Yes. A compromised judiciary? Yes. We have to blame them. A formal legal team that reopened the case that was already dead? Yes, that was Mike. We have to blame him for that. This is not just a legal failure. It's a moral and constitutional disgrace. Until Nigeria acknowledges its wrongdoing, until the court enforces the original judgment of October 2022. Mazi Nnamdi Kanu will remain a political prisoner in a democratic disguise until Nigerian government acknowledge its wrongdoing, until the court enforces the original judgment of October 2022. Mazi Nnamdi Kanu will remain a political prisoner in a democratic disguise. And that is it, ladies and gentlemen. This is the cold truth. This is the truth they are hiding about Mazi Nnamdi Kanu's case. This is just the truth they are hiding about. This is the cold truth they are hiding about Mazi Nnamdi Kanu's case. The Supreme Court of Nigeria, once seen as the final court, final guardian of justice, failed to live up to its constitutional duty in Kanu's case. A Supreme Court, the Supreme Court in Nigeria is the highest court in Nigeria. In fact, is the when other courts fail, is the court you run for, as last hope. The Supreme Court of Nigeria, once seen as the final guardian of justice, failed to live up to its constitutional duty in Kanu's case. Why? Because the Supreme Court ought not to have entertained the appeal in the first place. The Supreme Court ought not to have entertained the appeal in the first place. The Court of Appeals ruling that Nigeria lost jurisdiction due to the Kanu's illegal retention was not an ordinary ruling. They said, in fact, the appeal court said that the fact that Kanu was adopted, we lacked jurisdiction to try this man. And then they discharged him. What did the appeal court do? They reopened the case. It struck at the root of jurisdiction, which makes any further proceedings legally impossible. They said that as far as they lack the jurisdiction, any further proceedings is what? Legally impossible. Yet the Supreme Court took the appeal and essentially revived a nullified process in doing so. It violated its own precedents, such as in Ghani. You guys know him. And again, where it is held that jurisdictional breach cannot be, died and on appeal. Kanu always says this, that you see, no court in Nigeria, be it Supreme Court, High Court, Appeal Court, none of them have the jurisdiction to try him. But here today, Kanu is still in detection. They keep adjourning his case, playing with him. He comes to court, and then when they drag him to court, they'll tell him that today you will come to court. When he comes to court, Justice Omotion will tell him, sorry, we are going on vacation. You have to stay 2 months in. You can see how they are just playing with him. This is a man, this is a human being, no. This is not a chicken, this is a human being. Breathing. This is a human being that has so many health conditions, health complications. But yet, the judge can, enjoy, go for vacation with his family and still keep him in detention. This isn't just a legal failure, it's a judicial complicity. Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is a British citizen, like I always say. And yet, silence his, since his illegal adoption from Kenya, a third-party country. I repeat myself, Kanu is a British citizen. And yet, since his illegal adoption from Kenya, a third-party country, that's the UK Foreign Office, has remained suspiciously silent, making them complicit. No sanction, no diplomatic protest, no serious intervention, just silence. This stands in sharp contrast to how the UK responds when its citizens are unlawfully detained in Russia, Iran, or China. Why is Kanu treated differently? When their citizen is, when their citizen is detained illegally or unlawfully in Russia, Iran, or China, they act swiftly. But when it's Kanu, he's treated differently. Is it because he's an Igbo man? Is it because he speaks against British colonial injustice? That Biafran genocide that happened, that died more than 5 million Igbo people? Or is it simply because of that British strategic interest in Nigeria outweigh their commitment to justice? Either way, anyway at all, it is a betrayal, not just of Kanu, but of every Nigerian British citizen. Mainstream Nigerian media has played a dangerous role. Silence, distortion, or outright falsehood. Rather than probe the illegal redemption, the media focused on labeling IPOB as terrorists without investigating the context. This is what Kanu says every time in his court section. He said the mainstream in Nigeria, the mainstream Nigerian media, they're one of the problems in Nigeria. Yes, he always says it. Imagine people that are supposed to be, before you publish anything, you have to, make investigation. Without investigation, this mainstream Nigerian media will be labeling IPOB a terrorist organization. They fail to ask, why was Kanu adopted instead of legally extradited? I don't know if you guys are understanding me. These people fail to ask, why was Kanu adopted instead of legally extradited? I always say this thing. If Kanu was a terrorist, if Nnamdi Kanu Oyendu was a terrorist, guys, they will not adopt him. Me and you know that they will not adopt him. They will legally extradite him. This mainstream Nigerian media will not ask, why was Kanu adopted instead of legally extradited? Why are sit-at-home orders drawing mass obedience despite state resistance? They will not ask, why does the Nigerian state negotiate with bandits but jail IPOB members? They will not ask all these things though. They will not ask, why does the Nigerian state negotiate with bandits but jail IPOB members? The media has become a gateway of state narrative, not a watchdog of the people's rights. Kanu always says this thing in his live section whenever he appears in court, that you see, these journalists in Nigeria, or this Nigerian mainstream media, they're one of the problems we have in Nigeria. They don't make investigation, they just go and publish whatever they see, saying that IPOB is a terrorist organization. Let's be brutally honest. Now, let us be brutally honest. In today's Nigeria, terrorists are rewarded and activists are punished, true or false. Let me know in the comment section. Bandit leaders, like you know them, I don't want to start mentioning names, work freely and grant interviews. Terrorists in the north are reintegrated and rehabilitated without government programs. Terrorists in the north are reintegrated and rehabilitated with government programs. They said, due to human rights, blah, 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 they reintegrate them into the society. But look at innocent people like Nnamdi Kanu. For how many years is still in detention? Fulani terrorists accused of genocide are untouched. It's not happening today. Look at what happened in what's it called? Benue, yes, Elewata. 200 people down, poor children burnt alive. Did you see any arrests? Fulani terrorists accused of genocide are untouched. They go freely. But Nnamdi Kanu Oyendu, who only called for a referendum, is imprisoned without end. Detained endlessly. Imprisoned without end. If this is not a state-sponsored double standards, then what is it? If this is not a state-sponsored double standard, then what is it? Where are African regional institutions? The African Chapter of Human and People's Rights, to which Nigeria is a signatory, strictly prohibits extraordinary redemption, yet ECOWAS Court, which once ruled in favor of Kanu in 2018, is now quiet. ECOWAS Court, who once ruled in favor of Kanu in 2018, is now quiet. Automatically went quiet, went dumb, deaf. Oh, good. The African Union, which pretends to uphold Africans' dignity, has issued no sanction. The African Commission on Human Rights has not even issued a statement. Why? Because when it comes to Igbo lives and Biafran voice, the pan African commitment to justice seems to evaporate. Yes, now, because it's Igbo. When it comes to Igbo lives and Biafran voices, the pan-African commitment to justice seems to evaporate. Let's talk about these chilling questions. Let's ask these chilling questions. Now, I want you guys to reply me under the comment section. What if Nnamdi Kanu died in detention? What if, with all these things, with all these truths, what if Onyendu, what if he died in detention? What if he dies in detention? The Nigerian state is playing a dangerous game. Hope you guys know. The longer he stays in unlawful custody, the closer the region moves to radicalization, instability, and a humanitarian crisis. This is what Nigerian government doesn't know. You cannot cage a people's voice forever. Shoyinka has said, you cannot kill an idea that has come, that its time has come. It's not possible. You cannot cage a people's voice. He said you cannot defeat Biafra. Is he wanting our Nigerian government are ignorant of is that you cannot defeat Biafra. The idea has come. You cannot cage a people's voice forever. You cannot indefinitely suppress a movement, the movement built on history, injustice, and collective memory. Because Biafra did not just come out like that. Or that we want to have our own government, we want to be independent, the Igbos want to be independent. It did not just come out like that. Something happened, something led to it. Nnamdi Kanu did not just wake up morning to start agitating or start demanding for a referendum. Let us know and have it at the back of our head that Igbos are marginalized, even till today. Kanu's lawyer said something, Ejiofor. He said the civil war has not yet ended, because the Igbos are still marginalized till today. I'm going to play a video. I want to play a video of Kanu's lawyer. I'm going to play it, very soon, so that you will hear for yourself how Igbos are being marginalized. I will tell you that they did not just come out to start agitating. And instead of, if it's a reasonable country, instead of the government to at least address the root cause of why Kanu is asking for a referendum to negotiate with him, they did not. They did not. Rather, they went ahead labeling him a terrorist. Tell me how that is good. They did not. Kanu came out and started agitating, asking for a referendum. He did not even send it to negotiate with him, but you guys negotiate with the bandits. At least address the root cause of the problem. Why Igbos are, asking for their own government. They left it unsolved. Even till today, the Igbos have been marginalized. You cannot cage a people's voice forever. You cannot suppress a movement built on history, injustice, and collective memory. You guys know how they dealt with the Igbos during the Biafran genocide. Yes, I call it Biafran genocide because instead of these soldiers to attack Biafran soldiers, instead of Nigerian soldiers to attack Biafran soldiers, they let Biafran soldiers started attacking innocent children, innocent Igbo youths. That's operation alone by 5 million, if not more than. Instead of them, Showore said that if he becomes the president of Nigeria today, that he's going to come down to the east and beg for forgiveness to what happened in the civil war, the Biafran genocide. The Igbos is one tribe. Even with all the things they have done to them, they are still enduring, even to what they are still doing to them till today. You cannot suppress a movement built on history, injustice, and collective memory. If Kanu dies in custody, Nigeria will have killed not just a man, but a symbol, and a symbol doesn't die quietly. This is no longer just about Nnamdi Kanu. It's about, number one, the future of law and justice in Nigeria. Number two, the integrity of the courts, the complicity of legal elites, and the right of people to self-determination without state violence. Those who let this happen through ignorance, cowardice, betrayal, or silence will be remembered. History always keep receipts. So now take a look at this video of Kanu's lawyer. He said a lot of things which I want you guys to watch and listen to yourself how how Nigerian government negotiates with bandits but refuse to negotiate with Kanu. Can you imagine how Igbos are being marginalized? Take a look.
When the president calm down, the reason Nnamdi Kanu have a discussion with him. You have been having a discussion with bandits and the so-called repentant Boko Haram. Tell me the offense of Nnamdi Kanu, because he's agitating for self-determination, which is his own constitutional fundamental rights granted to him by the constitution and the law.
Well, the government's angle is not because of the agitation, because they know that everyone has a right to agitate, but they said the way he was going about it, like and then people were being incited. Well, that's even not what I'm
what of the wife of the president incited people during the election? The wife of the president, he incited people that Igbo should go. What of the one of Lagos said that Igbo should go and fall into lagoon? What of those that came out and said that Igbos will not vote? If you are not voting for APC, you will not vote. What happened to them? Has anybody been arrested? That Nnamdi Kanu said something, then you now term that thing he said as is a terrorist, is a crime of terrorism. You charge him for terrorism. His own lawful organization that is registered in almost all the whole countries in America and Europe and Asia, and you now came to Nigeria, you term it a terrorist organization. Now you are now saying that now that IPOB is being recognized in almost all the whole countries, America and Europe. So you are now saying that America, France, Germany, they are recognizing a terrorist organization because you don't want anybody to agitate. You want to suppress anybody. If you talk, kill him, suppress him, jail him. In a country that is predicated on constitutional governance, it cannot work like that.
Okay, let's get back to the ministerial nomination of Bianca Ojukwu, because you said he took away one from Anambra and brought in another. But remember that the president took away the minister based on the KPI results that came out, which he was not even the one, that did the evaluation. It was the result given to him, with which he did that, meaning that if actually the minister had performed, above board in the KPI, he wouldn't have had any reason to remove her rather.
Now, still on that ministerial list, we have 48 of them, am I right? And we have 36 states in this country, including FCT 37. So, apart from Southeast, that have only 5, every other region have more than 6, apart from Southeast. Now, check since 1999, we have been having series of presidents. Let's use what is going on now. The president is from where? Vice is from where? Speaker is from where? Senate President is from where? CJN is from where? Court of Appeal President is from where? National Industrial Court President is from where? Chief Judge of Federal High Court is from where? And they are saying that the people of Southeast belongs to this country.
Are you sure Max, are you sure you're not? It's just like what I said too. Isn't it time we started to be less sentimental about this diversity?
We have to apply it now. We are saying that the only people that are qualified to hold this position, nobody from South is qualified. On what basis?
Are you saying that
the chief of Naval Staff is from the Southeast? Huh? The chief of Naval Staff?
From where? I'm talking about the key position. Number 1 person, number 2 person, number 3 person, number 4 person, number 5 person. The key position, we have 3 arms of government: the executive, the judiciary, and the parliament. You can never see anybody from Southeast there. Now, the point we are talking about is that when I'm not even talking about, I'm in court about lopsided appointments.
Okay.
I can avail that my process because I did an intensive research in that process. File it, asking court to view whether this particular appointment, whether this particular governance is in line with Federal Character Establishment Act, an act of National Assembly that said that you should carry everybody along. Section 14 of the Constitution also said that you should carry everybody along. And they are not doing all these things. You are telling me that, yes, now that you have removed Kennedy Hanele and they are now brought in Bianca Ojukwu, that the people of Southeast will jubilate. Are you talking to idiots? Look at the people that you are talking about. Let me start with the source. In football, the people that have made Nigeria proud are the people of Southeast. In commerce, in aviation industry, name it. In academics, they are from people of Southeast. But when it comes to power, they are not qualified. And we want them to be happy. Listen, let me tell you, like today that is Monday, go to southeast. And my annoyance is that these things are avoidable for Christ's sake. The one at Niger, the reason and the Kanu, let us start addressing this issue. This early morning, somebody sent me a clip, something they posted that they said from, I think they said next week, the next 2 weeks, that there will be nothing like federal courts in the whole of southeast. What do I mean by federal courts? Federal courts, National Industrial Court is a federal court. Federal High Court is a federal court. Court of Appeal is a federal court. Now, the judges that are there, most of them are not Igbos. Majority of them are not Igbos. How should you risk somebody to go and preside in the Court of Appeal over the judicial division, Oka Judicial Division, Enugu Judicial Division? How can you appoint somebody to go and preside in Federal High Court in the southeast, National Industrial Court in the southeast? And you are not even thinking about all this, and the judges are not even thinking about So the point we are talking about is that when there is a problem, look for a solution. Personally, somebody like us, we are not even, I'm defending Nnamdi Kanu, one of his lawyers. So when they say so you people are not doing what you're supposed to do, the person that is calling you, don't even know him. He's using the hidden number to call you. You don't even know what they're talking about. The only thing that you went to court and you were unable to bring Nnamdi Kanu out. They're not even safe.
Okay, Maxwell, let me ask you this, because from what you're saying, I've also heard IPOB many times deny, allegations of being involved in some of the killings that happen in the southeast and some of the, the ills that we see in the society. Even the sit-at-home in question, IPOB has also claimed that he has not asked anybody to sit at home. No, get my point. So the point I'm making is that from what you're saying, it would look as if what you're actually trying to say is that it's because Nnamdi is being held,
yes,
that is why the ills in the society in the southeast has escalated. Does it have anything to do with him? If that is what you're saying?
Do you know why? Nnamdi Kanu, IPOB is his initiative. He established it, he organized it. Now, when you now kidnapped him or adopted him, and unlawfully, because the Supreme Court have said that he was unlawfully brought into this country, and you kept him incommunicado, everybody on his own. This one we kill, you said at IPOB. This one we maim, you said at IPOB. Everybody on his own. That's why I ask you the question, who is IPOB? The IPOB is Nnamdi Kanu. So Nnamdi Kanu, if Nnamdi Kanu is out, he will know who is who. Simon Ekpa will talk his own, Emma Powerful will talk his own, this one will talk his own, this one. Who is IPOB?
So guys, you heard what Nnamdi Kanu's lawyer said, Maxwell. He said a lot of things, talked about how Igbos are being marginalized even till today, talked about, look at the CJN who is there, that no Igbo person is in any key position in government. I mean any active position in government. All you see is other tribe. You will not even see an Igbo man. And it's worrying. Yes, it's worrying that even till today, even after what happened in the the Biafran genocide, they're still treating Igbos like last class citizen. And then when you come to Igbo land, you will not see any active in fact, you will not even see any seaports at all. Yes, it's worrying. You see, one of the reasons why Kanu rose up and said the end of the persecution of the Igbos will end with him. You see, and instead of Nigerian government to address this root cause, they have went to lock him up, just because he was demanding for a referendum and self-determination, which is his constitutional right under international law. You can see. And then look at what is happening. They called him a terrorist organization. They said it was IPOB. Any small thing that happened, even the NSAS that happened in 2020, they called IPOB. Everything that happened, even a man and a woman is fighting in Sokoto, they will call IPOB. Anything that happened is IPOB. Now, who is the IPOB? Just like Maxwell said, Kanu's lawyer said, who is IPOB? It's not Kanu. Where is Kanu? It's not in detention. How can Kanu be in detention and be conducting attack? So who is doing all these things? You can see that the people that are doing all these things, they know themselves. You cannot come and say it's IPOB. Because Kanu, or they said Kanu is the one that has been conducting attack. Simon Ekpa has been the one conducting attack. Where are these two people to today? I don't know, in detention. Simon Ekpa is locked up in Finland. Kanu is locked up in DSS custody. But still, these attacks have continued, even after they have locked them up. So will they be in detention and be ordering for attack? So you can see what is going on. Would they be in detention and be ordering for attack? So you can see that it is not IPOB that is doing all these things in the southeast. They know themselves. All these attacks that are happening in Imo State, even in Ebonyi State, the victims that survived clearly said it is Fulani headsmen. But Nigerian government tried to run away from this truth, hiding it, trying to cover it that is not Fulani headsmen, that is IPOB, that are the Igbos. We have to look into this. These things have to be looked into. Now, the problem now is, Igbo's leadership failure, a cultural silence, and then a political cowardice. We are the so-called Igbo political elites. We are they. Why Nnamdi Kanu remains illegally detained? Many Southeast governors, the senators, and traditional rulers have gone silent, or worse, have collaborated with Abuja to maintain their political seats. Where is the Ohanes and Igbo? They come out to write, in different news websites. You will see Ohanes and Igbo wrote petition to this. Act. We need swift action. If you're serious, you will act. Where is the Southeast Governor's firm? Why are they not demanding the full enforcement of the Court of Appeals ruling? Why? Where are they mute about illegal retention and prolonged solitary confinement? Where are they mute about that? Instead of rallying behind Kanu, they appear more concerned with the 2027 election and political endorsement from Tinubu. Instead of rallying behind Kanu, they are in the front line of the 2027 election and political endorsements from Tinubu. This is not leadership at all. It is betrayal wrapped in Abada. It is betrayal wrapped in Abada. Let's not forget the Department of State Service, that's the DSS, the government's political police. Khan is not held in a standard correctional facility. He's kept in DSS custody in conditions designed to break him psychologically and physically. Routine denial. These are the inside source allege. The routine denial of medical access. That's one. Starvation level food portion. Total isolation from other prisoners. Unlawful surveillance of legal consolation. They are not the actions of democratic states. These are the method of police states. Another legal tragedy is unfolding in plain sight, guys. After the Court of Appeal squashed the charges in 2022, the Nigerian government filed the same charges again. The Nigerian court filed the same charges again under the same facts, same dates, and same allegations. This is a clear violation of Section 36, Chapter 9 of the Nigerian Constitution, which says no person who shows or no person who shows that he has been tried by any court of contempt jurisdiction shall again be tried for that offense. I repeat myself, hear me and hear me very well. What appeal court did by, after the Court of Appeal squashed the charges in 2022, what Nigerian did by filing the same charges again under the same facts, the same dates, and same allegation, it's a clear violation of Section 36, Chapter 9 of the Nigerian Constitution, which says that no person who shows that he has been tried by any court of contempt jurisdiction shall again be tried for that offense. It is called double jeopardy, and it is illegal under Nigerian, African, and international law. Another tool used to justify Kanu's continued detention is who gains when the image of IPOB is painted as terrorist despite no court even proving such. Let me now tell you, no court in Nigeria, even in international courts, in abroad, Kanu is not convicted of any crime, and then they don't even see IPOB as a terrorist organization. Ask yourself who gains when the image of IPOB is painted as terrorist, despite no courts, both inside Nigeria and within or beyond, has proven such. Why does the violence intensify every time Kanu's court date approaches? Ask yourself that question. This chaos is not organic. is a strategic or it is strategic or a pretense to justify his continued detention. Let me now tell you that Section 35 of the Nigerian Constitution guarantees personal liberty. See, the Constitution doesn't play with someone's freedom. That's one thing you should know. In Section 35 of Nigerian Constitution, it guarantees personal liberty, stating that no one should detain beyond 48 hours without charges. No one should be detained beyond 48 hours without charges. Yet, Nnamdi Kanu has now spent going to 5 years now in legal and physical captivity without no conviction. This is not a trial. Oh. I want you guys to know that this is a prolonged persecution. They're not prosecuting him, they're persecuting him. By continuing to detain Kanu under this condition, the Nigerian government is not just violating one man's rights, it is trampling the constitution itself. By continuing to detain Nnamdi Kanu under this condition, the Nigerian government is not just violating one man's rights, they are not violating Kanu's rights, they are not trampling on Kanu's rights alone, but trampling the constitution itself. Now look at these two cases. I want to give an example of what happened. In 2019, Sambo Dasuki, accused of stealing billions in arms funds, was granted bail and later released despite multiple charges. I'm giving instances of what happened in Nigeria. I want to break down the selective justice or the judicial selective. I want to break down the story with what happened to Dasuki. In 2019, Sambo Dasuki, accused of stealing billions in arms funds, was granted bail and later released despite multiple charges. This man stole billions in armed funds. Let's get it right. In contrast, Nnamdi Kanu, charged with speech, just that he was holding a microphone. It's not like they saw him with any weapon or they saw him directly ordering for chaos or violence. No. Charged with speech, protest, and self-determination, remained locked up. That this man demanded for referendum, his legal right his legal right, that he's protesting because of the marginalization of the Igbos, and because of that, he wants self-determination, he wants referendum. Kanu, charged with speech, protest, and self-determination, remains locked up. But look at this man, Sambo Dasuki, accused of stealing billions in arms funds, was granted bail, later released despite multiple charges. Can you even compare this case? See, whose offense is greater? Why the double standard? Why? The answer is simple. I'll tell you. Kanu represents an ideology the state cannot control. This is the truth. This is the cold truth. Dasuki represents corruption the system understands. This is just the truth you need to know. Because what Dasuki did and what Kanu did, you can't even compare it because it's not even anything close to Kanu. What did Kanu do? That this man carried microphone and was, exposing things going on in Nigeria, talking about how the Igbos are being marginalized, how they're being persecuted, talking about the Biafran genocide and everything. He was charged with speech, protest, and self-determination. He remains locked up. Locked up. But look at Sambo Dasuki, accused of stealing billions in armed funds, was granted bail, later released despite multiple charges. Why the double standard? The answer is simple, just like I said. Kanu represents an ideology that cannot be controlled. Kanu represents an ideology the state cannot control. Why Dasuki, that stole billions in armed funds, represents corruption the system understands. The system aligns with it. Oh my God. You see, anybody like Nnamdi Kanu, anybody like him, Nigerian government will continue to be going after them because you see, people like them, they cannot keep silent. They cannot. If you go and steal now, if you go and kill someone, they will grant you bail and release you. But because you are decided not to keep silent to the nonsense going on in this country, you have become an enemy to Nigeria. You will rot in jail. But Kanu will not be rot in jail. Kanu will be released. So you can see it. If this word allowed what happened to Kanu stand, if this word today allows what happened to Kanu stand, the illegal kidnapping of citizens from a sovereign foreign nation, then no citizens is safe. I mean, the illegal kidnapping of a citizen from that's what they did to Kanu, the kidnapping of Kanu, and an illegal kidnapping of a citizen from a foreign nation. I mean, the extraordinary detention from a foreign nation. No citizen in Nigeria or outside Nigeria, even in this Kenya, they arrested him from his safe. If the world allows this thing that happened to Kano stand, no citizen is safe at all. The Nigerian state set a dangerous precedent that no extradition treaty was used. 2, no warrant was issued in Kenya. 3, no due process was followed. This is state terrorism in diplomatic clothing. It undermines sovereignty, human rights, and the rule of law globally. Now, this is why Nigerian and people must be focused, must stay focused. In this confusion of blame between lawyers, activists, and factions, the Nigerian state wins. These people must not be distracted, sorry. We must ask, why has Nigeria refused to obey its own constitution or its own courts? See, if you love Kano and you don't like what they are doing to Kano, you must be focused though. Don't be distracted. You must ask why Nigeria has refused to obey its own courts. You must also ask, why does the Supreme Court bend for the states but not for justice? You must also ask, why does the UK refuse to protect its citizen? Kanu is a British citizen. And then you must also ask, why is international law so easily discarded when the East is involved? These are the questions you need to ask. These are real questions. And the answer leads us to one and only conclusion. Here I will conclude this now. I'm going to conclude this. The answer of these questions will lead us to one and only conclusion, which is Kanu is not just a prisoner. He's a symbol of how far Nigeria has fallen. Kanu, sorry, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, onye ndu anyị, is not just a prisoner. He's a symbol of how far Nigeria has fallen. Let me know your thoughts under the comment section. Drop a thought under the comment section. Let me know what you're saying. If you're new to this channel, do what to hit that subscribe button and also share this video. Thank you for watching. Thank you for staying with me. Guys, don't miss any of my live section, please, so that you don't miss out on any breaking news. Thank you for watching. Kanu is going to appear in court on the 10th of October. We are wait to see what will happen, because we believe that Kanu will be released. If Kanu is not released on the 10th of October, it's going to be a huge problem, guys. Honestly, it's going to be a huge problem. Thank you for staying with me in this live section, and I'll see you guys next time.